There are 3 levels at which I can answer this question. I'll give you all 3, and they escalate in difficulty. So don't worry if you need to tap out by number 2. You're doing well. The first is to say, let's choose our words very carefully, and this is the most simplistic way to respond. God is understood as a being who was not caused, who is necessary, who exists self-existently. And so even there's a kind of, it sounds like a question constructed with words that we understand, but it's kind of on a par with saying, why is this square circle? So we need to be very disciplined in our language when we're talking about God and whether or not he came into existence. And in order to have the most meaningful conversation that it's possible to have, let's be careful with our terms. But that's not a very satisfying answer. That's just level 1. Level 2 would be to say, imagine a case where I said, yes, God did have a cause. Somebody or something did bring God into existence. What would be the next thing you ask me? What caused that? And then I answered and said, well, it was this other thing. What would you then ask me? What caused that? What caused that? What caused that? What caused that? Infinitely back in time. So what we're being asked to consider is whether it is possible for there to be an infinitely long chain of events or explanation which eventually pop with a God at the end. Now, we're familiar with the term infinity from mathematics, but let me tell you that infinitely large things do not exist in the physical universe or in reality. Imagine I told you, I've got an infinitely long book. Let's go and read it all together. And we go out after this and we read page, 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 page. We keep turning page, 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 page. But we never see the cover of the book. We never see the end of the book. We can't perceive any beginning, middle, or end. We actually end up in a situation where we can't really describe it as a book. Infinitely long books can't exist. Or imagine I say, let's go and see if we can find an infinitely long train. Carriage, 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 carriage. But we never see what's pulling the carriage or what might be at the end of it. Again, it becomes meaningless to talk about an infinitely long train. So what do we learn by these 2 examples? That it's not possible for there to be an infinitely long chain of events leading somehow into God being caused. So so if that's the observation, what language can we put around it? And this is now level 3. There are 2 types of things in the universe: contingent things and necessary things. Contingent things are like us, things which are the way they are, but we could have been different. So you might have cut your hair a slightly different way, maybe you could have worn some different jeans, or you might have had a different color of eyes, etc., etc. We are all somehow the way we are, but we could have been different. God is understood as being the type of being who is necessary, who is the way he is, and could be no other. So if we start getting into a conversation about what might have caused God, we're starting to say, well, could God have been contingent? We've got this kind of God, but could it have been a different type of God if causes had been slightly different? And we get into the same conversation about infinitely long things and contingency. And you say, well, everything in that infinitely long chain is contingent. It could have been different. Except for one thing, the fact that it couldn't have been any other way, that things had to be contingent. I'm now contradicting myself. You're telling me that it is necessary that everything should be contingent. Again, I'm using words that don't make sense. So there are some things in the universe or in reality which are necessary, and God is one of those. He was not caused.